here with me at the picnic table. Thank you, Travis. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, beloveds. Today we're going to discover the animals' transmissions and experience them as if we are, perhaps you could think of yourself as an empty vessel. That's tuning in to these vibrations that are just going to start dancing, perhaps unexpectedly dancing through you. So all the words that are shared are vibrations that are speaking deeper than our mind. They're speaking to the cells of the soles of our feet. They're speaking to the waves of water flowing through us. They're all being made as offerings. And they're co-created by this intentional space, by all of you. It's always a little disconcerting to my humanness that the messages arrive so close to the gathering every week. But it's because as we're all beginning to make our decisions for the flow of our day, we begin co-creating what wants to come through. So we take a breath together of deep welcoming. Welcoming yourself. Welcoming your vulnerability, your openness, and any polar opposites that may appear are welcome too. And then we welcome one another as not separate from self. But that can't be done until we welcome self fully. We can't overflow a welcome that we haven't yet received from ourselves. So first, the welcomes to yourself just because you are here. Just because. No reason. Just seeing yourself for one moment with true eyes of welcoming. I do this too, right now, with you all. The animals do this so naturally. Then they gaze upon us with welcoming they have already embodied. So welcome one and all in one. This is a sacred gathering that we open up to all. So it's not our tiny intimate group that meets weekly. It's open to a vaster, unknown flow. And it's always such a mystery how we find one another. So thank you for saying yes. The animals' messages today, the transmissions, the informational vibrations that they want to share with us are all focused on a deep experience of the state of deep rest. What is deep resting? You see Yoshi here behind us. She has a lot to offer us today, as does Travis, as do all the animal beings. So let's first and foremost call in these beloved animals. You can do so just in the silence of your heart, mind, body. Feel all these animal beings coming in, or you can invoke them with your voice. Keep yourself muted or unmuted. But we call in all the animals now with a full invitation into this space. We call in Yoshi, Travis, Khalil, Teddy, Taz, and Omar. We call in the sacred equine collective, donkeys, mules, minis, and all of our heart horses and guides. A freshly transitioned soul by the name of Allie. A beautiful border collie. You're one of our members who's flying free. All those animals who have passed in terms of their form, but more alive than ever in spirit. Isabella, Gisela, Majnun, Tex, Ingrid, Delilah, Francis, Archie, Stanley, Colors, Maddie, Zephyrus. Just feel them all flooding in. All the wild ones on the plains and the safari, the tigers and lions, giraffes, elephants, gazelle, hippos, rhinos, all the woodland beings. We call in the forest dwellers, the bears, the birds, the insects, birds of prey, the mice, lizards, banana slugs, snails, the rainforest beings, sloths, lemurs, tropical birds, butterflies, spiders, crocodiles, alligators. Call in the beautiful farm animal beings, meadow, land, grazers, buffalo, cows, elk, deer, coyotes, pigs, lamb, sheep, oxen, yaks, reindeer, the Arctic animals, polar bears, penguins, seals, the feline collective, the squirrels and rodents and chipmunks, groundhogs and moles, and the oceanic beings, whales, dolphins, sea stars, anemone, octopus, squid, all the fish in the rivers, ponds, streams, streaming to the giant oceans, the marsupial beings, and all who just naturally flow in on this intention that we're all bringing forth. We offer our intention like a sacred offering into the center of this endless circle. So we feel how expanded this field is, this field of light. And we breathe in these messages, again, allowing them to land deeper than the mind, letting them transform every molecule of water that composes your being and every vibratory field of your subtle body, opening, receiving. These messages from the animals on this state of deep peace. This state of deep rest. The first message is from Squirrel, who says, Squirrel says, as you look around, taking in what you see through your open eyes, that's Khalil making room, releasing. As you look around, taking in what you see through your open eyes, notice the mental pathways you're seeing is hijacked by. Notice the churning, the voracious collecting of nuts, the storage of these nuts for future use. Notice the busy interpreter within, who is always gathering and interpreting information, always working at cracking the nuts, always feeding upon them. Then simply freeze this inner motion, midstream. Freeze and watch. Become the watcher of the watching. Deep rest in this eternal now. So let's bring Squirrel fully right here into this space. Feeling the vibration of this being. As we take in this message from Squirrel, who says, as you look around, taking in what you see through your eyes, notice the mental pathways you're seeing is hijacked by. Notice the churning, the voracious collecting of nuts, the storage of these nuts for future use. Notice the busy interpreter within, who is always gathering and always interpreting information, always working at cracking the nuts, always feeding upon them. And then simply freeze this inner motion. Midstream, freeze and watch. Become the watcher of the watching. Deep rest in this eternal now. And we ripple out the alchemy of this wisdom into the whole. So for a moment, we'll go on a journey with Squirrel within our own mind. Just see the squirrel being, following the branches, jumping from neuron to neuron within you, incessantly collecting treasures. Storing them just in case. Working so hard at breaking the outer shells to get to the soft, meaty flesh of the nut. Feeling into that tired cycle, the tiring churning of the mind as a squirrel. And see, just for a moment, that squirrel freezing its motion, as squirrels do. Midstream, jumping from branch to branch, freezing. To watch the watching. To watch how what we take in through our eyes becomes owned by the mind. Just watching and breathing in a moment of deep rest from this incessant churning to an eternal moment of being the watcher. Watching the watching and resting in this very moment. We'll share a message from Bat. Bat comes in to our sacred space now and says, your true mind is a rested state. Your true mind is a rested state. Mind hanging upside down in broad daylight. This may at first feel like the mind has blacked out and become the night sky itself. But if you allow your mind to fall off the cliff of clinging to its uprightness, you will not fall into blackout. You will fall into the vast night sky of a richer sentience. A true seeing in the dark. A deep resting state held by sentience, wings unfurled. So Bat flies into the space with this transmission for us. A teaching on the state of deep resting. Your mind, your true mind, is a relaxed state. Mind hanging upside down in broad daylight. This may at first feel like the mind has blacked out and become the night sky itself. But if you allow your mind to fall off the cliff of clinging to its uprightness, you will not fall into blackout. You will fall into the vast night sky of a richer sentience, of a true seeing in the dark. A deep resting state held by sentience, unfurled. We thank beloved Bat for these vibrations of deep rest. Feeling for a moment what it feels like in broad daylight to hang upside down, to have an inverted brain, mind, and to allow this constant uprightness to be inverted, to surrender into it. To feel the night sky unfurled within your own mind as a richer field of sentience. A true seeing. And notice the rest, the deep state of rest that ripples through your whole being. And we ripple this out to the whole as an offering. And a breath together, simple breath. Just allowing these messages to land where they will, without a need to know where they land. Without a need to track how they land, but a resting in their inevitable landing. And these messages came through from this message from Yoshi, who's right here with us. Yoshi says, here and now we are remembering, remembering, remembering. The state of being, of resting deeply while awake, while awake, while awake. We are awake. Remembering, remembering, remembering with eyes soft and open, and simultaneously, mysteriously redirected gazing within. Open eyes, softly gazing at externally appearing waves of light, yet still pointed inward, looking, watching the waveless inner stillness. Returning, returning, returning to the innermost cave, to the innermost sanctuary of light. A state of deep rest, open eyes, the watcher, now bathing in the innermost holy waters of stillness. Here and now we are remembering the state of being, of resting deeply while awake, while awake, while awake. We are awake. Remembering with eyes soft and open, and simultaneously, mysteriously redirected, gazing within. Open eye, softly gazing at externally appearing waves of light, yet still pointed inward, looking, watching the waveless inner silence. Returning to the innermost cave, to the innermost sanctuary of light. A state of deep rest, eyes open. The watcher is now bathing in the innermost holy waters of silence. So we bring awareness to this soft gaze that appears to be open, this soft gaze that takes in waves of light. It is inwardly focused at the same time. A dual citizen. This gaze that typically always shines out can still be looking and anchored so deeply at rest in a cave of stillness simultaneously. Deep rest while awake, for we are awake, says Yoshi. And our final message for today is from Earthworm. So we invite Earthworm gently into this field. Earthworm says, sentience takes care of itself. You are not needed. You are not needed. You are not needed in the way you think you are. Can you take this in? Notice the dance of resistance to this truth, this humbling, freeing truth that you are not needed. That sentience takes care of all perfectly, brilliantly, with supreme intelligence. Now, rest your weary head on the soft compost pillow of truth. Sentience takes care of itself, says Earthworm. You are not needed. You are not needed. You are not needed in the way you think you are. Can you take this in? Notice the dance of resistance to this truth, this humbling, freeing truth that you are not needed, that sentience takes care of all perfectly, brilliantly, with supreme intelligence. Now rest your weary head on the soft compost pillow of truth. So we share a moment of deep rest now. Noticing all of the circulations, the pulsings and the rhythms of aliveness in this moment. Resting our head on a simple pillow of freedom. On a soft pile of composted complexity, broken down into simplicity of sentience, taking care of itself. A feeling, a breath of unfettered freedom. And of resting, deep resting while awake. And we thank these beloved beings for these transmissions from their embodied knowing. And we thank this incredible field of awake awareness that we are all co-creating. And this is the time where we begin a gentle transition from the inward focus